Hey guys, it's Tim Shermack, and welcome back to another episode of the Platform Marketing Show. I'm joined today by Jennifer Poulson in St. George, Utah, really southern Utah. Jen, welcome to the show.
Hey, Tim. Thanks.
So Jen's been working with Platform for about 2 years now. Is that right?
Yep. I joined you in 22.
Okay. Yep. And you were already, so I just want to lay this all out right away. You were already a successful agent before you joined Platform. So this is not one of those rags to riches podcast episodes where it was like, hey, I was, scraping by and barely had money to pay the bills. And then I hired Platform and, you were already very successful, but you were looking at something that could kind of strengthen your brand in your area and give you an edge on competitive listing appointments over the other agents in your market. Because I know that in the last couple of years, the greater St. George area has become expensive, very competitive in terms of real estate agents, obviously because it's becoming more of a premium luxury area. And for those who don't know, St. George, I mean, I don't know if I'd describe the whole town as a luxury community, but yeah, it's not cheap housing in southern. It's a very luxurious place to live.
Our average price point is in the 700s.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of frames it up where if you're not familiar with Utah, you're not familiar with the area, you might think, okay, middle of nowhere in southern Utah, what is that, like a $200,000 house? It's like, no, because it's a very beautiful area. What's the national park you're really close to there?
So we're right next to Zion National Park. You can see part of Zion from here, and then we've got some ski resorts. We're really like the playground of Utah when it's snowing. So it snows, people come down here, people from Vegas come up here. And after COVID, the world discovered us and we exploded.
Yeah, so it's gotten a lot more expensive, in the last couple of years. And so obviously it's kind of a popular place to want to be a real estate agent because there's still this myth out there that it's easy being a real estate agent and it's easy money. And that's because I think people usually look at successful agents when they say, oh, this agent's making so much money, but they don't see the other 99 agents that are struggling and not making any money at all. So that's a great example of survivorship bias. If I were to ever teach that in a college classroom, I would just use real estate as an example.
It's true.
If there's this myth out in the public that agents are making so much money and we need reform and they should be making less commissions, it's like, well, maybe if you look only at the really successful ones and not at the vast majority of agents that are barely making enough money to pay their bills or they're not paying their bills, right? So I say all that to say you're in a competitive market where there's lots of good agents and you were already a successful realtor, but you were looking for a little bit of edge of, hey, what type of marketing can I offer that'll put my brand over the top, where if people in my community or in my sphere, like the friends of friends and the friends of friends of friends, like people who don't necessarily know you super well, but they probably know 5 other agents, right? So it's like, how can I get those people to choose me when they're thinking about listing their house and not the other half dozen agents that they know? And that's kind of why you inquired about Platform. So when you signed up, it wasn't like, I want a bunch of leads, I want to buy a bunch of leads. It was, how can I build my brand in a deeper way in my community than maybe what you had been doing? So my first question, Jen, is what marketing were you doing or had you done ever before you signed up for the Platform marketing program?
So I definitely fall into that category of realtor where every report card I ever got had the comment that I talk too much. So my whole big marketing thing when I very first started was open houses on busy roads. That was literally what I did. I will talk to anyone. I enjoy people. So I would just throw out my little signs. I would find a vacant listing and I would bring other work that I was doing and just kind of turn it into my office. And I didn't care how many people I got. I wanted practice talking to people and getting comfortable in the sales space with real estate. And I would just do open houses because they were free and I could. And so I don't cold call. I've never cold called. I don't buy leads. If I did buy them, I would probably never call them. Sure. I just go and meet and talk to people. Kind of my superpower.
How long have you been an agent?
I got licensed at the end of 2019. In fact, I was pulling up my numbers and it was funny. In 2019, I sold 1 house. I was also working another job. So my husband, he was cute. I actually didn't tell him I was getting licensed. I just did it. And then I was getting ready to take my test. And I said, okay, so by the way, I'm going to take my real estate test because I need to do something different. I'm ready for something different. And the words that I still tease him about were, but you have health insurance, because he's self-employed. And I was like, promise, I'll make enough that we can pay for our own health insurance. It's fine. We don't need the health insurance. So that first year, sold one house, the least expensive house of my career. Actually, it was like $90,000 or something like that. And I was super excited to make my $6,000. That was really exciting. And then that first client, he turned into that first year 3 transactions. But even more than that, he like adopted me, sort of. One of those things where my clients become my family, they become my friends. So
yeah, just lots of referrals,
yeah.
lots of future business. And
then after that, I quit the job with the insurance and made it full time. So in 2020, which was my first full year, now mind you, that was COVID. So when I was starting out, we were like, okay, you can't touch anything. Okay, you can't, like all the you can'ts. And I did about 150,000 that year. And then the following year,
and you were not spending money on marketing. So
nothing.
essentially, in your first full year as an agent, you still did 150,000 in GCI.
Yeah.
And this is basically just by sitting open houses and trying to insert yourself into as many possible situations where you're just talking to people and getting FaceTime
Yep.
with people.
And then from there, I did just over 350. Now, we were also heating up, but some of that was investors.
But there's many agents, though, just to give some context to that, right? That, like, yeah, the market was really hot in 2021 for sure. But there's many agents who have still never in their life made 300,000 in GCI, and you did that in like your second full year in the business. Okay, so how many people live in St. George, Utah, like the greater area?
Right around 100,000. And I should probably Google that. It's a small town. We have one Target. We have 2 Walmarts. We have 1 Costco. So it's little-ish.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not a small town if you have 100,000, but it's definitely not a big city.
No, and it's kind of the town where everybody's from here and everybody that grew up here, it's sort of like a tight-knit. If you didn't grow up here, it's kind of hard to break in here. And I came from Vegas. So I moved here in 2017.
And how far away from St. George's, Vegas?
Vegas is about a little over an hour south of here.
So you were like familiar with the area, but you weren't like embedded into the deep historical social circles.
I was the new girl
So
from
you are
Vegas.
still, frankly, even now, we're recording this in the year 2024. You're still a relatively new realtor. You've been licensed for less than 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
Your business rapidly grew from 150 then to 350, and then I know the next year you did actually over 400,000 in GCI, and you weren't spending money on marketing this entire time. So I know people listening to this are going to be like, bullshit, there's no way that she wasn't spending money on marketing. Where were the deals? Where were the leads coming from? Was it just referrals from people who knew you? Were you active on social media? What was the main source of business of how people were calling you throughout this time?
So the main source of my business was referrals, either from people that I knew, because I am very social, and then I just did tons of open houses. I did participate in a website with a couple of other agents where I think I spent like $250 a month or something like that, and we would get like round robin leads. And I did sell 2 things from that.
So mostly open houses. And when you say that you sat a bunch of open houses, do you mean like every weekend, or?
I would just find, if I didn't have anything to do, I would look online and find a vacant house on a busy street and get the listing agent to let me hold it open. I would throw my signs everywhere because I figured I needed practice talking to people, and I just needed one person that wanted me to help them somehow, and I needed the practice, and it was pretty easy practice. And it's surprising how easily that parlayed into quite a few.
How many, and again, this is going to be a complete guess. I understand that. I'm not asking you to have this memorized off the top of your head, but like in that year, like 2020, 2021, so like your first couple full years as an agent, you said you focused on open houses as a lead generation strategy. How many open houses would you say you did in the year 2021? Was it like every weekend? So you did like 50 open houses, or?
No, not even. No, I honestly feel like I just used the open houses to get some momentum. And once I got the momentum, I would work those clients. So I bet you less than 20.
That's still in like the spring, summer time of year in St. George. That's probably one a weekend. Because obviously you guys have a winter there that you're not doing as many open houses.
So my superpower is once I start to work with people. So like my first listing was actually a park model. Do you know what a park model is?
Yep.
It's like a trailer.
Yep.
And
it's basically a euphemism for a trailer. Yep.
It's like, it was like 600 square feet. And, you know, they're usually not new. So it was probably 20 years old. And I knew that my clients needed to get every dollar out of it. And I had sold them a house and now they needed to sell their park model. So I talked them into just letting me do whatever I wanted. And I went to Home Depot and I bought some paint and I painted the walls myself and I switched out their curtains and I just freshened it up and made it look like a totally different something. But to me, I wasn't doing anything else. And I knew I could make it look better. And if it looked better, it would sell for more money, which it did. And then I sold another house for them doing the same thing. I went in and took their house that had been vacant and made it staged. I actually rented a trailer, brought furniture 3 hours north to stage the house to sell it. And then it just kind of became my thing where you bring me into a property and I'll do anything that you'll allow me to do to make it better, because I know that buyers have no attention span. And if I can make it look better and make it show better, then they'll make more money. And so I think my all-inness, it's easy to get referrals when they see you painting the walls yourself.
Sure. On a trailer. Yeah.
On a trailer.
And that's the context that I think a lot of people don't get about real estate agents is, they might see that, hey, a Jennifer Poulson sold $1 million house or a $700,000 house or a $1.3 million house. And they think, wow, she must be making all this commission. It must be so great having that job where you make a $20,000 or $40,000 commission check when it closes. But it's like, what they don't see is that you started out selling 20-year-old trailers as your first listings to get your foot in the door and start to build that clientele and build that brand to like get to where you are today.
And if I have clients like that today, I have people ask me, will you sell my house? I know it's not very expensive. And yes, and I'll give that the same amount of attention as I will give a $2 million house, because to them, it's their home and every dollar matters.
I mean, purely selfishly too, right? Let's say someone has a $400,000 house, which isn't like a cheap, inexpensive house. It's just that if you're in a market where there's $700,000 houses and that's the norm, 400 can seem cheap by comparison, right? And so let's say someone has a $400,000 house. Well, selfishly, what you always are going to have in the back of your mind as an agent, or frankly as a marketing company, is you never know what people know that person. Like, it's very possible that you help someone sell a $300,000 or $400,000 house, and they might be really good friends with a couple that has a $2 million house or a $1.3 million house or whatever. And if you really impress them, they'll be like, hey, this agent did a phenomenal job for me. I want to connect you with my friend who has this, $1.5 million house they want to sell. You never know, right, who you're going to get connected to. So it just doesn't make sense to ever do a mediocre job, because like the long tail effects of just being known for excellence, the ROI is almost incalculable if you just constantly focus on that. So you discovered Platform in the year 2022. Again, you were already successful. What was it that interested you about Platform? I mean, how did you find us actually? Was it a Facebook ad, or how did you find us originally?
So I actually found you because my daughter-in-law found your podcast.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, that's right. And now you're on the podcast.
And I listened to it. And after the first episode that I'd heard, I was like, if it's exclusive, I'm already interested. And then just from listening to your different theory, the thing that was the most impactful for me was, I think that most companies, for sure realtors, we all do the same thing, this like slightly different variation of the same reels all day long. You go on Etsy and you buy, your prepackaged whatever. So we all just look the same. We all sound the same. And frankly, we all kind of think that everybody else is obsessed with houses just because we are, and they're not. And I really loved the fact that platform strategy was you're a part of the community. And yes, I'm a realtor, but my job as a part of the community is I shine a light on the businesses that I frequent. I love that, coming from Vegas, I love the small townness of St. George. My
Sure.
mechanic,
Sure.
he owns his shop. Like, I love small business. My husband and I are small business owners. I love that I don't advertise me. For the most part, the ads that we run, they're not about me. They're about somebody else. I'm actually wearing a necklace from this little shop that I found on the way to dinner one day. And just impromptu, I did a little ad on her. And I know people have gone down to see her because they would text me, "Where'd you get that necklace? Where's that store?" And I love that. It's scary and hard when you start a new business and you're putting out all that time, money, and effort. And if the community can wrap their arms around you, that's phenomenal. And so the fact that you were giving me a way that I could help my business, frankly, by helping other people, that is exactly how I think life should be.
Yeah.
You
No,
won me from day one.
that's the heart of the platform strategy, is that the most effective ads don't look like ads. And therefore, one of the most kind of tactical ways of doing that is run ads that are actually just promoting other small businesses in your community. So you're not even talking about yourself. You're actually giving an authentic shout out to a local boutique or a local coffee shop or your favorite bakery or pizza slice shop or whatever, right? And you talk about them and you just happen to be the one hosting or running the ad, but it's not about you. It's about the pizza shop or the coffee shop, whatever. And so people don't even realize they're kind of subliminally being advertised to, because they're still seeing the name Jennifer Poulson pop up in the Facebook ad, because these ads are coming from your Facebook page or, Instagram, right? But it's all about someone else. So it doesn't look like you're bragging about yourself or constantly promoting yourself, because you're not, right? You're shining a light on the community. And over time, if you do it once or twice, that's not going to build a brand. But if every month you're doing this month after month and eventually year after year, people start to just associate, hey, Jennifer Poulson is like a champion of the community and she loves promoting the community. And she's essentially doing what the Chamber of Commerce and the local, economic development commission should be doing, but so often isn't, actually promoting the businesses here. She's a champion of the community and she just happens to be a realtor, right? So if first and foremost people think of you as, hey, she's just really an advocate of the community and she just happens to be a realtor, right? Well, guess what agent you're going to call when you're thinking about selling your house, or you're thinking about moving to the area and buying a house. You'd probably just, at a gut level, want to work with an agent who loves the community and is constantly promoting the community. So I think platform works really well for, frankly, for anyone, but specifically for agents like you that are really good at what you do, but you're maybe not like super keen on the idea of like, I don't want to just talk about myself and all the ads. Like, I don't want all the ads to be bragging about how awesome I am or how many homes I sold or what awards I've won, or, just kind of those like cringe ads a lot of agents do where it's like them holding their, yeah, just like holding their trophies, or here's how many homes I sold or how many millions volume I sold last year. And it's all about you, but like people don't care about that. It would be like if I ran ads for platform and all the ads were just talking about Tim Shermack. It's like, well, no one cares about Tim Shermack, right? Like, you're probably less likely to sign up for platform the more you know about me. What we do is we highlight our clients and the results that they're getting, and that's most of our ads we run for platform, right? And then if people see a post about this client or that client and the success they've had or the referrals they're now getting or whatever, it's like, well, then you want to sign up because we've made the marketing about other people, not us. So so that's how you found us. You got referred to us, you said, by your daughter-in-law?
My daughter-in-law.
Okay.
Yep.
And she heard the podcast.
And I was shocked when it was available because you actually took my call when I reached out, and I was expecting you to tell me, "Oh no, it's already taken. Somebody else is already doing it." And I knew if I didn't do it, in 5 seconds somebody else would. And
it's actually really hard to communicate that to people and have it not sound salesy, like we're using it as like a manipulative sales tactic, like, oh, you better sign up now because someone else might sign up tomorrow. But like it actually is that way in most
oh
cities
yeah.
now, where like most cities for platform marketing do legitimately have a waiting list. And I don't want to ever pressure someone. Like if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. And that's fine, right? That's never been my sales strategy anyways, is to be like, a hard closer and use all these high pressure tactics. But I do like ethically want to tell someone that, hey, if you do want to sign up, like deep down, you do want to give this a shot, sign up now. Don't wait another 90 days or 2 weeks or whatever, because there's a very good chance that someone else scoops it up in the meantime. And we've had people call us and basically chew us out of like, you didn't tell me it was going to get sold out. I was going to think about it for a couple weeks or a month or whatever. I had no idea. Someone, it's like, well, we didn't know either, but you had the chance to sign up and you didn't. So
I mean, you would think as realtors we would understand that, because we tell buyers all the time. They think, oh, it's been on the market, I can lowball it. And we go, look, it's nobody's interested until somebody's interested, and then everybody's interested. So do it now.
yeah, it's like if you actually really, really want a house and it's, the difference between $500 and $510,000 is basically nothing on your money. Yeah, if you really want the house, like a year from now, are you going to worry that you paid 510 versus 500? It's like, no, you're not, right? So, yeah, I completely understand that. So you signed up for platform off of a referral from a family member who listened to our podcast. You probably didn't know a whole lot about platform because you just heard about us on the podcast. Um, the type of marketing that we started doing with you, in a 2022, what did you feel like started working the best right away? Like, what would you say were the earliest wins that you experienced in
I would
2022?
actually say that I'm probably your textbook example of somebody that signed up and then didn't want to do most of the things that my account manager would ask me to do.
Okay.
I was like the problem child.
Okay.
She would give me things to do, and I'd be like, well, what if I look funny and I'll look dumb? And I tried to do it, but I didn't like how it looked. And I was so worried about doing it right that I couldn't get out of my own way for a really long time.
You wanted everything to be like super polished and didn't want any imperfections, or you wanted everything to be kind of like a Hollywood type of.
Or, yeah, I wanted it very, yeah, because I really am professional in the way that I interact with my clients.
Sure.
But at the same time, frankly, I'm kind of a goofball. And so it wasn't until I got switched over to Taylor and she's like, Jen, you're kind of goofy. So just be goofy. It's okay. And so I bet you the first year I was with Platform, I just could not get out of my own way. I didn't do very much. And when I did, it frankly wasn't very good at all. And I was super busy, and so I would make excuses. Oh, I'm busy, I don't have time. And I knew I should do it. But yeah, I'm the textbook of what not to do when you hire a company to help you do something, and then you're the worst chain in that link, or link in that chain.
Well, it's like when a realtor takes on a listing, right? And the agent is recommending to the homeowner, hey, here's what we need to do. We need to paint this. We need to replace this flooring here. I recommend staging the house or doing this or that. Or we need to spend some money on the landscaping out front or whatever. And you might recommend some changes that add up to being $5,000 of total expense, or, and the homeowner doesn't want to do any of that on a $700,000
Yes.
listing. And that advice isn't necessarily the difference between, hey, you're going to spend this $5,000 and it's going to bring in an extra 20. It's often the difference of you're going to spend this $5,000 and the house is going to sell,
Or not.
or it's just not going to sell at
Yes.
all, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy how often that happens, where someone hires you, as an agent, and then they don't listen to any of your advice, even though the agent is only getting paid if the house sells, right? So like you have no incentive to tell them to spend money or fix up this or that unless you actually think it's going to help the house sell, because that's the only way you get paid, right? So Anyways, like I completely understand that. And that's happened with a lot of clients. It's something that realtors deal with too, is that sometimes, your customers or clients don't listen to you, and everyone's going to have their own reason of how they rationalize that. But it sounds like it took you about a year to maybe, yeah, to maybe like get out of denial that like, okay, if I'm going to do this platform thing, because maybe you don't do it, maybe you quit, right? But if I'm going to do it, I should go all in and just listen.
I just knew that it would be the dumbest thing for me to quit. I just knew it. And so my only option was to get out of my own way and just allow myself. I would hear other people when I went to the mastermind, and people would say, "I don't even look at my videos. I just send them and I don't look at them." Or so that's kind of what I do now. I trust the person that's videoing me, and if they tell me it's not entirely horrible, I just send it in. And I try not to look at it. And then when the video comes out or whatever, I'm like, it's okay. And I just kind of.
It is what it is. Yep. Well, the thing is, everyone thinks they look weird on video or that they sound weird. I mean, oh my God, the first couple episodes of this podcast that came out, you can ask my wife, Bella. I was like, is that what I sound like? Is that what my voice sounds like? Because especially now that I have this like fancy microphone and mixer set up, and we have like a professional editing these podcast episodes where I can just like very crisply hear my voice, and it's not fuzzy or whatever like on a Zoom call might be. It's like, I'm like, is that what my voice sounds like? She's like, yeah, that's how everyone hears you. I'm like, really? And now I'm used to it, for better or worse, just hearing the ugly sound of my own voice. But like the first time that you do a video and you see, oh my God, is that what is that what I look like, or is that what I sound like? Like it prevents a lot of people from creating a higher volume of content, right? Because you never want to admit this, but it's like, it's that self-image of like, I don't know, maybe I'm too fat, or I don't like my nose, or I don't like how my hair looks today, or I wish I didn't have these vocal mannerisms of, verbal tics, or saying too much, or whatever, right? And you come up with all of these justifications of, I'm not going to do more videos, or I'm not going to do more ads. And that's really all that's separating our like Hall of Fame platform clients from basically any other platform client. Is every year when we bring all the Hall of Famers on stage, and I ask them, how many ads are you doing every month? Every single one of them is like, I usually do 8 to 10 ads a month. And that's basically the difference between people in the Hall of Fame and people not, is they're just doing 8 to 10 ads every single month without exceptions. Obviously, in that 8 to 10, some of the ads, they might do a couple listing videos a month. They might do 3 or 4 random photo posts. They might do a couple photo retargeting ads. One of them might be like an open house notification. Like it's a different assortment. It's a different mixture of ads every month. But the point is, every month they're doing 8 to 10 ads. So if someone is on their retargeting list for a year, that means they're basically seeing over 100 different pieces of content from them every year. So it's like, how could you not end up getting more referrals and not win more of those listing appointments if people are seeing that much content from you?
So here's one thing I found interesting that happened a few months ago. I had somebody that reached out to me directly from Facebook and asked me to come over and talk about listing their house. And it was the first time that it really sank into me, because typically when you go to a listing presentation, you're one of several people that they're meeting with. And so that's what I'm going there thinking. I'm one of several. They just happen to be in my retargeting audience. And so that's how they know me. And as I'm sitting there at the kitchen table with them, I realize they already trust me, which it was an interesting paradigm shift for me. Usually we're working on building that trust with somebody that we just met, but especially because of the diversity of things that they see. Yeah, they see me do realtor things, but they see me do all these other things too. They do have a pretty good idea of who I am as a person, what I like, what I don't like, what it might be like to be around me. And it really, I think that the superpower now with me with sellers is that they do feel like they know me. I don't have to build that at that meeting. I've been building it already.
Yeah, there's this like deeper level of pre-existing trust going into a listing appointment where you don't feel like you have to spend precious time in the listing appointment building rapport, because you already have the rapport going in, and you can kind of more so get down to business and not have to worry about making a super awesome first impression, because they kind of already like you if they've been seeing all of your ads for the previous 2 months or 6 months or, whatever. I know I talked to Taylor.
Yeah, sorry. I've got like 3 recently that they didn't call anyone else, only me and only from platform.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was going to say. Is I talked to Taylor recently, and she's like, "Hey, Jen's had a couple really good recent wins where she got phone calls and listing appointments of like $700,000 house. I think you said one of them was even over $1 million listing, and that it's, hey, these people saw my Facebook ads from platform and they just called me, and they're not interviewing other agents. Like, they want to work with me."
And I've been getting calls from people. I actually called Taylor yesterday. I was like, I have this weird thing going on where I seem to be like the 4th person that they've called, where houses have been listed 3 times before, not sold, and then they call me. I'm like, I think I need a t-shirt that says something about a hat trick.
So she had mentioned when we talked that, like, hey, Jen's picking up a lot of these listings, and she knows they're not interviewing other agents, but it's not because they don't know other agents. So I know that we were talking about this a little bit actually before we hit record on this podcast episode, is that you've even picked up some listings like in your own neighborhood of people that for a fact know other agents better than they know you, and yet they still listed their house with you because of your marketing, even though that you 100% know that they're closer friends with a couple other agents that they could have listed with, but they still worked with you. Like, why do you think that is?
I really think that there's so much value in being in front of people on a regular basis in a way that it's not about you. So, yeah, I'm doing listing tours and things like that, but I really feel like having those things in the mix where it's the small business spotlights, and it's even like lists of community events or something that's not like, hey, by the way, my name's Jen and I really want to sell you a house, or I'd love to sell your house, or like
Sure.
nobody likes that. Nobody wants, like, they all get it. You sell something, but can you talk about something else? So the fact that they see me working, but also me not every time I talk to them, I'm trying to sell them something. There's real value in that, of just being, working, the evidence of the working, but also in a not, I feel like the way that platform helps me do it, it doesn't feel like I'm bragging, which I think is important.
Sure. Right. How many millions of dollars of sales volume this year do you think you've sold so far where someone saw your social media ads?
I actually did the math on that the other day. I was telling Taylor, I wrote down names and then the numbers next to the transactions. Over $6 million this year were, in my mind, I know, platform. Some of them I didn't know them prior. Others, I'm like, I know it's because they're in my retargeting audience. I know it is.
So 6 million in sales this year of people that you 100% know, hey, I know that they've been seeing my content on social media, and that influenced their decision to work with me. So I usually tell people, for those listening, maybe if you're not already working with platform, the cost of working with platform is basically $1 million in sales volume. If we can help you grow your business by $1 million in sales volume, that's essentially what it costs to work with us for a whole year. So if you've increased your business by 6 million of people that you're pretty confident might not have worked with you had it not been for all this marketing, that's a 600% return, on those marketing dollars. That's phenomenal. Again, in a competitive market where you're often winning listings from other agents that might know these people actually even better than you do. So that's terrific. Are there any ads that like stand out, Jen, specifically of like, hey, this particular ad, I got a lot of great engagement, or people were telling me in real life, I love this ad, whether it was a photo or a video? Are there any ads that stand out over the last couple of years of like, hey, this one, people seem to really like this one?
So we have this house in town, and it's on its own hill, and it used to be this old house that was probably 20 years old, and somewhere around pre-COVID, somebody bought it, tore it down, and built another giant, beautiful house on it. And then the rumors started flying around town that Post Malone was going to buy the house. And everybody was whispering, is that really Post Malone's house? And all this, Post Malone's going to buy the house. By the way, Post Malone did not buy the house. I don't think he was ever going to buy the house. I don't know how the rumors started, but everybody calls it Post Malone house. And people were like, hey, so I saw you in the Post Malone house. It wasn't even a good video. It was frankly a really bad video. It was a broker's open, and the broker was like, hey, you guys can video. So I did, and it was bad, and I got tons of comments on it.
But people still saw it, and that people are seeing your social media content. I was actually talking with someone yesterday, and we were discussing how a political polling, I think, is actually kind of similar to social media marketing, in that when we're in a presidential election year right now, so everyone's paying attention to polls if you're into politics, if you care about politics. And like the most trustworthy companies are usually like Gallup and Rasmussen and Pew Research and New York Times, and they claim to be able to, like, hey, we can give you, potentially, like, we know who's going to win Pennsylvania by polling 1,000 people in Pennsylvania, right? It's like, well, there's whatever tens of millions of people in Pennsylvania, and you can actually craft a statistically significant data sample off of just 1,000 people in Pennsylvania, even though there's millions of people there. And the answer is yes, right? As long as you do it the right way. And so a small data set can tell you a lot of a much larger population. That's the whole basis of polling, right? Is that you don't actually need to literally interview every single person in Pennsylvania to know how it might vote. You just need to poll approximately 1,000 people, and that gives you a rough idea, right? I think social media marketing works the same way in the context of the platform strategy. And here's what I mean. If you even have one person tell you that they loved a particular ad that you did, maybe the vanilla ice cream ad, or some of these classic platform retargeting ad scripts we've done, if even one person in real life is like, hey, Jen, I loved that ad that you did, that was just really, really great, and they tell you, like, in real life, right? Well, you can kind of just assume that for every person who tells you, there's probably 100 other people who think the same thing, but just didn't actually tell you that, right? So whenever you get even one or two pieces of feedback on any particular ad, I always view that as like, awesome. There's probably like hundreds of other people who have the same opinion and just didn't actually reach out to me and tell me that. And it's the same thing if you do evaluations of a vendor or a company, right? Like with like platform, that's the whole point of testimonials, right? If we have a happy client testimonial, we have about 300 clients right now. So if someone's thinking about signing up for platform, no one actually thinks, okay, I better call and interview all 300 of their clients and find out what the opinions are of each of these 300 people, and I'll build a Excel spreadsheet before I think about signing up. Usually what you do is you just talk to a couple people, or you read, hey, do they have at least half a dozen or a dozen good, strong testimonials? And have I talked to a couple people that are active clients? And if they say good things, like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot, right? You don't need that large of data. So even getting small amounts of feedback from people that, hey, hey, Jen, I love your ads, or I love that listing video, you kind of know that, okay, there's probably a lot of people in the community seeing your ads and following you on social media if you're getting feedback like that.
I think one of the things that was the most fun is, because especially when my numbers were, when I signed up, it's not that I needed advertising. And so my husband was like, so why are you paying these people again? And what do you need them for? And like, it feels like wasted money. So, and then when I wasn't really participating the way that I could have been, he was just like, can you just cancel it already? You need to stop. And then he came home from golf one day and he was like, why is it that the guys that I golf with follow you on social media? Do you know that when I go golfing, I have to hear about whatever you're doing from the guys? Now, mind you, the guys he golfs with, for the most part, I don't know them at all. I'm like, they follow me on social media?
Sure.
Cracks me up.
But they're following you on social. Yeah. And I would imagine, I don't know anything about, your husband or his friends or who he golfs with, or whatever, but I'd imagine that these are not like poor people who are renting trailers. And like, I would imagine if you're golfing you're probably an upper income type household where those are the type of people you would want following you on social media, right? And the way the algorithms work, if those people are following you, Facebook is much more likely to show your content to their friends as well, who are probably also in upper income households that are the type of, listings and clients that you want to work with. And so again, that's just proof that even hearing that one anecdotal story that you just told me of, hey, my husband's golf buddies say that they see me constantly on Facebook. It's like, well, that actually tells you a lot about even though it's purely an N of one, it's anecdotal, right? That tells you a lot about the effectiveness of your social media reach in your community if you're getting that type of like real world, real life feedback from actual people. Like you're not looking at the analytics and Facebook ads dashboard of how many clicks did I get or what were my video view count or what was the click rate. You don't actually need to know any of that. If people are telling you in real life that they like your ads, you can kind of just know that what you're doing is working. One thing one story I want to bring up too is
Last year.
I think was it last year's mastermind or the year before where we went out for pizza? Was it last year? Yeah. And this is just why I love the platform masterminds, is because there's just random meetups and you get an opportunity to meet people and hang out with them in a deeper context than you otherwise would, because you've probably listened to a bunch of podcast episodes of me or you'd seen me speak at an event, whatever, but you'd never really talked to me. And a bunch of us randomly decided to go out for pizza one night at the mastermind last year. And I think it was you were there. I know Steph Fortman and Brian Fortman were there. They're from Wyoming. They're our clients in Laramie, Wyoming. I think my mom was there randomly. I think my Angie was there. Yeah, she's from Oregon, right? I think. Yeah. And I think there might have been one other agent there. I'm forgetting, but it was like a smaller group. It wasn't like, it wasn't like a 25 of us or something. And we just sat at that pizza place and talked for like 2.5 hours about life and business and philosophy. And it's like, that's what's fun about having a relationship type of mindset about how you run your business, is that if I was just thinking like, hey, how do I make sure that I talk with every single platform client at this event? It's like, well, we had over 200 people there. So I really wouldn't be able to divide my time and make sure that I'm spending some time with every of the 200 agents. But I'd rather just, hey, when I go out to eat for whatever, it's lunch, dinner, whatever, at the mastermind, make sure I'm always connecting with some clients and going deeper. Cause like after that dinner, I kind of felt like, okay, cool. I sort of know Jen Poulson now a little bit. Like I know who you are. You're not just like a name and number on a spreadsheet. Like you're on our client list. Like I sort of actually know you. Like if I was driving through heading to Vegas or something, like I would absolutely stop in St. George now and be like, hey, do you want to grab coffee or something? Because I feel like I know you. Right. And the entire platform strategy of what we're trying to do with this marketing program is take that idea and just replicate it over and over and over again every month in your hyper local market there in St. George, so that all the people in your community start to feel the same about you, where they probably can't even verbalize it. Like they can't even put it into words, but when they're ready to, buy a house or sell a house, they're just like, well, yeah, I'm going to call Jen. I'm not going to interview other agents, right? I'm just going to call Jen because I feel like I know her, even if they've never actually spoken to you. Have you actually had that happen in the last couple of years where someone's called you and listed with you and they felt like they knew you, even though you've never actually spoken with them?
Yeah. 3 times in the last few months.
Really? Okay. Like buyers, sellers, what was it?
Sellers.
Okay. And they're just like, hey, we want to sell our house, but they're kind of talking to you as if they're almost like a friend. And you're like, who is this?
And it takes you like a while to catch up and realize they already feel that way. So I got to catch up.
Sure.
Because
Like
I haven't been watching them.
Yeah, like I don't need to go through my whole normal sales presentation and building rapport. I can just kind of skip to, the part where we start talking business because they already like me. Jen, what has been the most unexpected part of platform? Like when you signed up, what is the part that's maybe the most pleasant surprise or the biggest shock, or like, hey, I didn't realize that we did this or that this was part of the strategy? Or was there anything that when you signed up that it was just surprising of the way we do marketing?
Honestly, I think the most surprising thing is I thought it would be harder than it is. Because for a while, I made it harder than it needed to be. And it's really not that hard. It's pretty simple and it's pretty amazing, frankly, because what we pay for what we receive is like pennies. I was thinking about it as I was driving today to my office about my account manager, and I was like, I think I have a new nickname for her. She's my new emotional support account manager. Because even every now and then I'll call her and I'll be like, I have this idea. Is this like a good idea or a dumb idea? And I know that like she'll tell me, she'll be like, Jen, you're great, but that's not a good idea. No, don't do that. Or she'll be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Or if I'm getting ready to film something, I can call her or text her and say, I'm going to do it like this. Should I change it? Should I? And she's busy and she'll give me, if I say, can I have 3 minutes? I try to keep it to 3 minutes and she will call me. And that's so important to have. Like, I actually feel like I have a partner that knows me and I feel like she's no less invested in myself, in my business than I am. And that's pretty remarkable. It really is remarkable.
That's really cool hearing that as the, founder CEO of the company, because that's always been my vision is like, what if there was actually a marketing agency that worked with realtors where it wasn't just a bunch of customer support reps that you called them when you had a problem with billing or something, that we're outsourcing to some place in India with a bunch of people that are making $2 an hour with headsets, and you call them when you want to quit or whatever. Like, what if our account managers were like actual American marketing experts who understand social media ads and marketing and culture, and you can even bounce business ideas off of them. We've had our account managers help out with billboard ideas and copywriting for direct mail, where you actually look forward to hearing their advice on something. So it's not just a customer support position, but like Taylor is truly a marketing professional, and you trust her opinion if she gives her opinion on something. So Taylor, if you're listening to this, you're a badass, you're a rock star, you're awesome. But that's super cool to hear that feedback, because that's what makes it different than other marketing companies, other marketing programs out there, is that we don't just set up a couple ads and then put it on autopilot and never look at it again. We're constantly interacting and going back and forth and trading ideas and letting you just vent sometimes, or pitching you on something that maybe makes you a little bit uncomfortable, but we're like, hey, Jen, trust us. This is going to be great. And that's, I think, what marketing should be. It should always be, pushing the envelope a little bit, doing things that make you a little bit scared or uncomfortable, because that's the stuff that's really going to resonate with the community, because it's not boring, you know? Well, cool. Will I see you at the mastermind this year? Okay. So I will see you. All right. Well, I will see you in November then. Last question is, if someone's listening to this and they're in their first year of platform and they're kind of where you were, where you haven't really seen great results yet in your first year, and you're not sure if it's the economy or just things are weird in the market, or you're not doing what you need to do, maybe a platform, you're not taking it seriously enough, you're not doing the content that your account manager tells you to do, what would you tell someone who's in that first year funk of like, they're not getting the results that they thought they would, and they're kind of thinking like, do I quit this or do I press on? Like, what if you could go back in time, what would you do?
So, first thing would be just get over yourself. Second thing, I know you asked me for one thing, but I'm going to give you more than one.
Sure.
So, get over yourself. Ask your account manager, what do I need to do different? And then actually listen to what they have to say. And really trust, because I would hear, people talk about their results. And even when I started actually fully participating, kind of like, I remember like thinking, okay, but like the other people get recognized on the street. When am I going to have like that? Aren't you that realtor?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
at Costco, aren't you that realtor? One day, if you just keep your head down and keep doing it, you'll have several stories of aren't you that realtor? And even if you don't hear those stories, to your point, it's helping you more than you think it is. And really do just put your head down, trust the process. If your
Yep.
ask your account manager, am I spending enough? And if they say no, then increase it. If they say yes, like Taylor doesn't get paid anymore if I spend more money. She's
Right.
not spending more of my money just for fun. She's very good at watching what I'm spending, and she's a good steward of my finances, which I appreciate. But do what they tell you to do, get over yourself, and have an appropriate budget. And just keep doing it. And one day, the fire hose will turn on, and you'll be like, wow, how did that happen?
Cool. Well, Jen, thank you for that. This was an awesome episode. And I'm really stoked to hear that you can trace over $6 million this year of sales back to your platform ads, because
Me too.
that's a serious amount of money. And we're still in kind of a slower market right now. So if you're doing
We're
that much in
still
a
at
slower,
high-ish interest rates where
yeah,
people are still
yes, yes.
squeezed.
So as as things get a little bit more balanced in the coming years, like you're only going to become more successful. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time. And I will see you in November at the Platform Mastermind.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, guys, we'll see you on the next episode of the Platform Marketing Show.